What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Grow Old With Us, where you throw me off every time, where we are growing old together. We are about to react to another Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man. This one is Seeing Color, and it is actually with Chip and Joanna Gaines, plus their kids. So if you watch, I guess it's Discovery Plus now, HGTV and stuff like that, you probably know who Chip and Joanna is. I don't know that he knows who they are. I'm aware of who they are. So I'm pretty excited to get into this and see what exactly we are discussing.
Ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Welcome to another episode of Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man. If we truly want to bring forth change, it not only starts with you and I, but it's also about the next generation. So I'm privileged to be joined by Magnolia co-founders, but more importantly, parents of 5, Chip and Joanna Gaines. How are you all?
We're good.
Doing great. Thank you for having us, man.
Of course. Now, you came with Drake, Gella, Duke, Emmy, and crew. Chip, why was it so important that you bring your whole family here for this conversation?
Oh, man. When I saw your video, and it's been a couple weeks back now, I can't believe how time has flown. But, I mean, bottom line, our family wants to hear what you have to say. And the idea about having an uncomfortable conversation with the Black man, honestly, is exactly what we need for this exact time. No?
Okay, why don't you go get a donut,
Okay,
baby.
go get a donut, little bro.
Crew's gonna go get a donut. He'll join us later.
He's like his mom. Thank you.
Now, let's have the uncomfortable conversation. Joe, I know you have some questions.
Yeah. So, we've been having this dialogue with our kids, and Chip the other day, he was wanting to kind of get a pulse on what are our kids, what are they thinking about all of this? And so he asked the kids a question. Hey, pretend like you're at a gas station and you see a black man and a white man. Are you more threatened by either of those two men? And the kids really quick all said no. Why? Like in their mind, they didn't even think about that. And so later, Chip and I were talking, and this whole idea of this colorblind.
So that water finna go.
I think our kids are colorblind. And then we started kind of pushing back on that. And I think our question to you is, I've heard other parents say that they want to raise their kids colorblind. In your opinion, what's the best way to move forward with this conversation?
I think that it's best that we raise our kids to see color, because there's a beauty in color and there's a beauty in culture.
Yeah.
So I'm first generation American, and so I didn't grow up with any animals. I didn't grow up with any dogs. And so my sister got attacked by a dog when she was younger. So now as a 29-year-old man, I can't decipher between a dog that's a threat and a dog that's just a pet. Wow. Because I didn't grow up with any animals. And I think that if we don't see color, if we don't expose our children to different colors, to different races, then it'll be the same thing. As a white kid who becomes an adult, you won't be able to decipher the difference between a black man that's a threat and a black man that's just black. Sure. A black person won't be able to decipher between a white person that's a racist and a white person who's just white and may happen to be racially ignorant. So I think there's a strength, there's a beauty in seeing color. I don't like the concept of color blindness because color...
Yeah. There you go. Now you have more control.
I feel like you're against me, dude.
No, it's that way you don't have to be like pause and then I gotta be like, okay, you know what I mean? Like this gives you more options if there's something you want to talk about right when it happens.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I agree with him.
Mm-hmm.
I've always said when people say, and I really find that it's interesting when people say I don't see color, because I feel like the people who say I don't see color are the people you often hear, whether it be they mean for it to be or not, but they often will say some form of racist comment.
Well, if they don't see color, then they wouldn't know if that was racist or not.
Maybe, but I honestly just don't see how somebody wouldn't. But anyways, in my personal opinion, I've always said that there's beauty in color. So I liked that he said that. I think that there's a beauty in the fact that we're all different. I think there's beauty in his beautiful melanin skin And, you know, the different cultures, the different skin colors, all the way from, you know, a darker person to a completely white albino person. I think it's just, I love that we have so many different shades, and I just think that that's one thing that's amazing about people in general. And I do agree that you should raise your kids to appreciate that. I know that he's going somewhere else with this as well, as far as being able to decipher the difference between good and bad, basically. I think that's people in general.
Yeah, I personally believe that if you say you don't see color, or you don't want to believe in the actual racial divide in color within society, you have to remove yourself from society. Because yes, you can have a higher plane of thinking that we're just humans by that name, right? She's a human, I'm a human, our kids are human, our neighbors are human. Don't matter, Mexican, black, white, Chinese, doesn't matter. You can have that higher thinking, plane of thinking, but to live by that plane of thinking, you need to remove yourself from society, because society has divvied things up to be labeled.
I think when you also do that, and just bouncing off of what he's saying, you're setting yourself up to just be completely ignorant to what's going on around you. Like, whether or not we're all human, of course we're all human. Of course we all bleed red/purple, blue, whatever. But still, from our you know, racial divides and stuff, there's still different things that everybody goes through based on their race. You know what I mean? Like, you can't say that you can't say that you don't see color, or I mean, I guess you can't say that you don't see color, but you got to take into account the fact that somebody may go through something else that you don't understand because they are a certain color. So we all have different experiences based on that, where we were brought up, our culture, all those things fall into it. And you're dismantling, disowning, discrediting the fact that that is what it is. And when you say that, you're also basically taking away the hardships too. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I get what you're saying. That's just my viewpoint. My viewpoint is there's a higher plane of thinking, a higher plane to achieve with living, but because we live in society and this is the way that the society is set, you need to be able to bring your mind to the tune of what you're going to live within, basically. Yeah. Ready?
Yep.
Maybe I can.
Cultures of youth.
It's kind of what makes us human. You know,
Exactly.
everybody's got their own differences and uniquenesses.
Yes.
And even as you imagine our kids here of 5, each one of them have a different look. Each one of them have a different eye color. But, you know, each one of our kids have these uniquenesses. And maybe to your point, you know, it's okay to highlight those things, you know. I appreciate that. I've got a question in that, you know, if you asked anyone, even a racist, if they're a racist, I would almost argue, you know, that all of them would say no. How do we attack and solve a problem that I would say some people in our community don't even understand that we've got?
I think that in America, we have to remember history is meant to be remembered, but history isn't always meant to be celebrated. And I think that we have racism so ingrained into our culture, we don't even realize we're blind to it. I go to Nigeria every summer for a medical mission trip, and there's a sweet middle-aged Nigerian woman who, as I was escorting her into the optometry station to get glasses, she refused to get glasses. She was like, I don't need them. She was bumping into things along the way.
Wow.
Well, 30 minutes later, after we fit her for glasses, there was a huge smile on her face, because now she realized she can see the full depth of life, see all the dimensions of life, see all the colors of life.
Sure.
And I would argue that that's the same issue we have in America. Like, my white brothers and sisters, until they put their glasses on, they can't see all the dimensions of life. And so they can't understand the full picture of, oh, maybe having a school named after a Confederate general that I have to attend as a black person, maybe that's a problem.
Sure.
Maybe having statues littered across campuses that I have to look at of men who would have oppressed, enslaved, and potentially executed me, maybe that's a problem. So I think that in America, we have to do a better job of properly discussing
Put 'em in a
places
museum.
our heroes.
Manuel, that's powerful, man. I have a quick story about cancer, and cancer is not a real prevalent thing in our family. I was in New York just a couple years back, and I ran into a gal named Gabe Grunwald, and she explained to me about her battle with cancer, and within just a few short years, Joe and I have become just huge advocates of cancer, and we've been to St. Jude and the experience that happened there. And something about your video, Emmanuel, I want to be real clear, was almost like that light bulb moment. I don't have a whole lot of personal experience with cancer and the challenges that people face in that way, but I'm telling you, once I learned about it and I understood it and it affected my soul, I couldn't unforget it. And when I saw your video and even the title, An Uncomfortable Conversation with the Black Man, it was like there was a light bulb that went on in my head, and I was like, I think I've been blind to this reality for maybe my whole life.
And that's my goal of these conversations. For your children, for you, for myself.
When you hear the phrase, we've come a long way, does that feel right to you? Like, is that accurate?
We've come a long way. I would say that it is accurate, but it is incomplete. It's accurate because there was slavery for 339 years. And then after slavery, there were Jim Crow laws. So technically, we've come a long way from slavery to Jim Crow, and then from Jim Crow to the new Jim Crow, the last 70 years or so.
Wow.
That is coming a long way, right? Black people are no longer enslaved. However, there's still such a long way to go. I mean, think about this for a second. Last week, it was 53 years ago to the day that black and white people finally were able to be married. We were spending the night here in Waco last night, and I thought about this for a second at a dear white friend's house, and I realized if this was 70 years ago, I would have been executed for that.
Wow.
Just imagine that for a second.
Wow.
Sure.
If this was 70 years ago and I was staying in a white person's house in Texas as a black man, I would have been executed for that. So have we come a long way? Absolutely. Do we still have a long way to go? No doubt about it. But I'm hopeful to a degree because of this.
Yeah.
Because of interactions like this, and more importantly, because of you all. So I know, Emmy, you had a question that you wanted to ask.
Are you afraid of white people?
Oh, whoa.
That's what I love
Wait a
about
second.
children.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a phenomenal question. I'm not afraid of white people. I am cautious of white people. I think about water and electricity. Water, necessary for life. Electricity, it's also necessary for life. But I do understand if those two have a negative interaction, it could be lethal.
Dang.
Wow.
And so when I still might use my cell phone charger in the bathroom. You know, as a female, you still might use your curling iron or your blow dryer next to the sink.
Sure.
But you have to remember, if those two things ever have a negative interaction, it could be lethal. So I'm not afraid of white people. I'm just cautious. And I think the beautiful thing of children and about children is that we learn things as kids and it develops us as adults.
Sure.
Which is why you all being here with your children is the most powerful thing, because this conversation could be life-changing. And not necessarily for their life, but for a life of someone who looks like me.
Sure.
Drake, I know you had a question as well.
So with all that's going on in the world, do you have hope for the future?
Of course.
Do I have hope for the future? I would say absolutely. But I have hope for the future because of this reason. After I put out my first video, I saw Chip retweeted. And I reached out to you. And you said, I brought my entire family of 7 together. Because 30 years ago, I saw the LA riots. And 30 years ago, I'm seeing these riots.
Yes.
And I will not let that happen. So do I have hope for the future? I do. Because of a man like your dad. Do I have hope for the future? I do, because of a woman like your mom.
Wow.
But the only way to have hope for the future is if you all listen to these people. If these people listen to me, and if I listen to them, then I think we all have a lot of hope for the future. So, Chip, I thank you first and foremost for being willing. Joe, I thank you for being the matriarch of all matriarchs. And I thank you all for watching another episode of Uncomfortable Conversations with the Black Man. Make sure to follow, make sure to subscribe, and make sure to ask your questions because the world needs all of us.
So what do you think in summary?
I enjoyed the episode. I felt like they touched on a lot of important things that are happening in society today. A lot of things that you hear people say, like I don't see color. And the fact that, yes, we have come a long way, but there is still so much to do. Like racism and segregation and the legality of, interracial relationships and stuff like that. It's not that old, what do you say, 53 years ago? But isn't it like Mississippi or something like that where it literally...
It was in the 90s when it finally got ratified.
Yeah. So it's still, I feel like, still fresh to a lot of people. And I liked how he said, because a lot of people don't understand why there are changing of names, why there are removals of statues. I do think that putting them in a museum could be a good idea, like he said. But I understand, why they're removing those, and a lot of people don't. And I think the way that he worded it, should I have to go to a school that's named after somebody that would have enslaved or killed me had it been 50, 60 years ago? No, that's not, that just doesn't make sense to me. And I have a hard time dealing with people who can't understand that and want progression. Like, what's the big deal in changing a name or taking a statue down if it hurts somebody? You know what I mean? Like, wouldn't you not want those people to hurt? Like, why? Where is the heart? That's what I feel like we're missing in society a lot, is the heart.
There is no heart in society, but I get what you're saying.
Okay, humanity.
Yeah, there's heart in humanity, but there's no heart in society. That's the problem. America doesn't want to face the true fact of what it's based off of. Stealing, killing, and taking advantage of other people. That built your country. Those things are the chateau that follows the generations to come. Those very things. Stealing, killing, and taking advantage of people.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's true.
You don't want to come to terms with that, your progression will be very, very slow. You come to terms with that, it helps you start to seeing how the stealing, the killing, and the taking advantage of people has just transformed over time to different methods.
Yeah.
So that's why when people, we want to hope the best for society, but when you look at how something's made, you have to then say, okay, well, there's no heart in society whatsoever. Like what? None whatsoever. So for me, take all the statues and put them in a museum. That's where they belong to be. You know what I'm saying? Take their names with them. Put them in a museum. So when someone wants to say, I want to go relive this time period of America's time, you have a museum you can go to and you can go relive that time period of America. They don't need to be out and about. Just go stick them in statues.
One thing that I'm kind of tired of hearing...
go stick them in museums. I said stick them in statues. Go stick them in museums.
One thing I'm kind of tired of hearing people say... I lost my train of thought because
Yeah. I mean, the American spirit comes... Go ahead.
People saying that basically, how do you move, or we can't move forward because you keep bringing race up and stuff like that. That irritates me. People do say that all the time, and it's just like, no, we have a problem that we need to fix, and we can't fix it if we don't talk about it.
Look, race was created for the reasons it was created. It's done the things and the job that it was created for, and it's part of our society. So when you say you can't move forward because you bring race up, if race wasn't that important, it would be removed off of job applications, loan applications, all that type of stuff. It was not a part of being important in our society. But since it is, then it's a part of it. And you're just trying to deflect away from something that you know is going to put you in a very uncomfortable spot if it starts being talked about when people say that. So that's why I don't. Anytime someone talks about race, most of the time, if they are middle class, low class whites, they go straight to slavery. Basically, they bypass Jim Crow, they bypass 13th Amendment, they bypass all these different things that have been put in society that's actually closer to us. They go straight to slavery. I've never owned slaves. You have never been a slave. That's where they go instantly. They go straight there. And then when you bring up Jim Crow, they're like, "Huh, Jim Crow? What's that?" You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't, because they are a part, have been put in a society that's kept them ignorant to these things. So that's why they feel that way. So that's all I got.
But you can only claim ignorance for so long.
I mean, it's very hard to claim ignorance in this information field, which some of it do be lies, but I'm just saying, it's just, if you want to work to know something, you can find your answers.
Yeah.
So it's real hard to claim ignorance now.
So what did you guys think? Opinions, viewpoints, we'd love to hear them in the comments below. If you know of something you would like for us to watch or react to or discuss, let us know. You know where to find us in the description. Please make sure you support us by hitting that like and subscribe. And we are out.